puso sa akin. Ako'y nasindak ng alurin sa baybayin ng kahirapan at kalungkutan. Ang tindi ng sinabi ng aking kapalaran, wala na akong pag-asa, yurak na aking dangal, wala nang lugar pa akong masisilungan o alon ng kapalaran. Sana'y tumigil na. Ang tindi ng sinabi ng aking kapalaran, wala na akong pag-asa, yurak na aking dangal, wala nang lugar pa akong masisilungan o alon ng kapalaran. Sana'y tumigil na.
Hello. Sino bang nandyan? Gabi na. Gabi na, Commander. Uy, marami pa rin tayo kahit na gabing-gabi na. Binaliktad ko lang. Anong Twilight Zone sinasabi ko dyan? Pinay Paparazzi. So, ano bang topic natin ngayon? Iran. Bakit ba to late na late? Meron kaming mga pinagkakaguluhan na ibang mga bagay na hindi pa namin pwedeng pag-usapan dahil secret. Pero okay. I just want to use this time dahil alam ko yung iba sa inyo nagrereklamo na hindi makatulog kapag hindi marinig ang ating konting kasaysayan. Good evening sa inyo. O'Hara. Late ako. Marites talaga to. Yes, this is Marites. Si Attorney Ahmed, he's fixing his lines. His lines are really awful. So, he said na, ay, mali ba? Sorry, nakalagay tomorrow. Kaya pala nag-iisip ako, ano ba ngayon? 11 o 10? Sorry. Anyway, this will just be a short one. Ano ba tong pag-uusapan natin? You know my style about looking at historical topics. I'd like to go back to the time. And I don't trust yung mga modern interpretations like what you read in Beto Campo, ganon. Although they're very good. I buy some of his small books. Ito si Beto Campo. I like it. It's a good guide. But it's too shortened na hindi mo na nanamnam ano talagang nangyayari. At dahil itong si Mim at saka si Katips ay mainit na usapin ngayon, why don't we look at what really was going on at the time? But okay, before going to the actual 1972 September 21 Proclamation 1081 na sinasabi sa ating schools, sa ating social media, sa mga usapan ngayon na para bang nahuli daw ni Ninoy Aquino yan, plano na yun yung Oplan Sagittarius. Okay? And then siya yung expose na magkakaroon ng martial law days before martial law. Do you believe that? Bakit ka na to Twilight Zone? Kasi ibang date. Do you believe that that stuff that nobody knew that there will be a martial law before the martial law was declared? And why was it declared to begin with? And what was really the issue? Yun yung tanong eh, meron bang issue? No. O sabi ni no. Okay? Yeah, sino pang nagsasabi ng so Katips is short of, yun, sikat, ganun. Hindi naman, grabe naman kayo. Yun, so nagkakamali naman tayo, di ba, Luna? Sorry. Ay, see, if our friend who gave us, bukas meron tayong, kaya pala nakapula ako kasi sobrang aga. Nakalagay dito pula. It's not even supposed to run yet. Okay. So what did I find out? Actually, matagal naman na tong info, no? But I was just so excited when I saw this. Itong I must acknowledge, it comes from the Free Press, the Philippine Free Press. And I'd like to read this with you. I'll just make it bigger kasi alam mo naman tayo, hindi naman ito pangungopia lang. Which one is this? I think this one. Yun. Okay. Huwag kaya muna yan. Ito kaya muna isa. Because this one is a nicer. Ay, sorry about that. This one is a nicer material. So, panghuli natin yan. Panghuli. Itong isa muna ang ating gagawin. Tama ba? Okay. Okay. Yan. So, okay. Some backgrounder. Marcos Ferdinand Sr. Tatay ni Bongbong. Okay. He was re-elected. The first Philippine president ever to be re-elected. And of course, it was a source of ire and maraming tawag nito, syempre maraming intriga. But what was the biggest intriga for the president at this time? Actually, hindi siya intriga. Sa totoo lang ito sa economic issue. Yun yung sinasabi, no, that there is no such thing as any war that was ever waged because of principles or because of any moral issue. No, every controversy that happened in history is all about economics. So, how long before martial law ever happened did the issue begin? This is nice. Actually, this is a very good confirmation of this very long-standing issue. Okay, where do we start? Tingnan mo kung paano sila magsulat noong 1971. January 23, 1971. Okay, again, I would like to acknowledge that this material that I am using is from the Philippine Free Press. Okay, and the issue and the date it was published was January 23, 1971. Okay, for those who do not recall, or for those who ako nga hindi pa ako pinapanganak niyan. The State of the Nation address of a president is usually given on a January. And on that, so probably this was written on the month that the president just gave his second to the last State of the Nation address under the 1935 Constitution. Okay? There was already that talk. The talk of, puno ba? Kikita. Alright. Tanggalin kaya natin yung ano, no? View, tanggalin natin yung no, not full screen, but we will show print layout. Okay, print layout. Tanggalin natin si, tumakas tuloy. Tanggalin ko lang para gumanda yung ating view. View, tatanggalin ko dyan. Whatever. Okay na, bahala na. Okay. Sinasabi dito, no, ginagawa daw sangkalan yung bisita ni Pope Paul VI. Ito, napaisip ako dito, ano yung akib of pro? Or, I think this is just a way of saying quid pro quo. Para pala akong magsulat ng mga tao dati. Yung mga pinaglalaroan yung mga salita. Okay. So, ang sinasabi dito na ginagamit daw ng First Lady ang bisita ni Pope Paul VI to showcase or to highlight her social welfare projects. Alam niyo naman yung mga beautification of Manila ng mga projects ng First Lady before, no? And they find that like a sort of blackmailing. You know? Then it was a turn of the private press to be accused of standing between the government and the best interests of the people by blackmailing. Poor President Marcos are trying, anyway, to going against those interests. What is this issue with the press? There you have it. And this was as early as January 1971. So exactly, September is the what? 10th? 9th? Ano ba ang September? August is 8th, 9th, 9th month. So this is 8 months, and then at 1 year, 20 months before the declaration of martial law. Sabi dito, pakinggan nyo. Si Presidente daw, okay, accused the powers who are in control of some media of trying to blackmail him into betraying public trust. To the words, you cannot perhaps know the pressure that the president is subjected to, the coercion, the intimidation. Some time ago, I received a message which indicated the sickness of our society to the effect that if I did not approve certain favor, I would be attacked in the newspapers. My immediate reaction was, go ahead and attack me. That is your privilege, but I'm going to judge these questionable transactions on the basis of their merits, not on anything else. I have decided, I said, that in 1973 I will retire from politics. That is my wish, that is my hope, and nobody is going to intimidate me in any way. What was going on in 1971? Do you know what was going on in 1971? Ito ato si Tatay Sani, oh. Do you know do you even remember what was the biggest issue in 1971? All right. If my memory is correct, I did not even counter check this or Google this thing. Para may mga sumagot. May mga sumagot. Sinong nagsulat niyan? Uncle. Okay. Walang nakalagay na author, but our next material meron. And matutuwa kayo. Kasi this looks like an editorial of the Philippine Free Press for that week. Weekly kasi itong Philippine Free Press. Apparently, it's the oldest surviving magazine in the country. And they have started, I think, 1907. So they were already...
I didn't understand that.
I'm not talking to you. All right. So, sabi dito, President Marcos, okay, wait, 1971 ulit. The issue in 1971, if I'm not mistaken, was a oil crisis, and then there was this devaluation of the peso, and the devaluation happened because of the pressure from the outside world to float all currencies away from the old gold back to fiat money. And I think I'm certain about those things happening in those times. And nagkaroon ng oil crisis, tumaas lahat. Bumagsak yung ating exchange rate because when the dollar ceased to be 1:2, so anyone who had any debts denominated in dollar, let's say for example, parang naging 1:4 yan in 1970s, in the early part of 1970s. So if you owe a bank in New York for $1 million, and that was equivalent to 2 million pesos, suddenly your utang became 4 million pesos. Malaking bagay yan. Okay? It's worth a revolution. So President Marcos pleaded for help from the great mass of our people while promising to do all he could to better their lives. Okay. Then last Wednesday night, so this is a this is a January 23, meron daw nangyaring patayan. No? There were 4 people who died in a demonstration. January 1971, there was a demonstration daw and 4 people died. Okay? So, Marcos was lashing out a particular pressure group which accused of inciting them into further passion. The president said there were reports that the pressure group was financing jeepney strikers as well as inciting them to violence. Ito ba yung kwento ng katips? Kasi hindi ako nanood eh. Whoever watched it, sige nga. Kasi alam ko yung mga driver dyan sa Katipunan, sila yung mga aktivista. Marcos Lopez issue. Okay, the oil price hike, oil crisis, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, yeah, this was also the time that I think they started forming the the OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Thank you, Senators. Chile, thank you, Chile. All right. The Communist Rebellion. Okay, the Communists in 1971 were not yet really in rebellion. In fact, they were working with government in many fronts. At that time, there was just one Partido Komunista ng Pilipinas, or PKP. There was no Communist Party of the Philippines yet. Wait. Nag-split na ba sila dito? Parang malapit na sila mag-split. Si Joma ay nag-split na sa Partido Komunista and he was forming the Communist Party of the Philippines. Okay. Now, let's go back to our material. I do not wish to believe this report. He said, sabi ni Marcos, it is written and signed by responsible agents of our government. So, parang merong intelligence report that, okay, at the same time, responsible agents of our government that told Malacanang that it was the American Central Intelligence Agency that was behind the recent troubles of the Free Press and the President. In the first case, instigating the labor dispute. So, high Malacanang personage told the Free Press editor and, second case, planting Dobby beams to smear the president and afterwards oust him from power as it did the corrupt Egyptian ruler Farouk. Kita niyo yung mga intriga at the time. Dobby beams, rally, violence, may mamamatay, and then, so, okay. Ito daw sabi ni Marcos, for and on behalf of the Philippine people, I appeal for sobriety. I beg on my bended knees that no man or group of men seek to inflame our people. Violence will not solve our problems. It will not solve our problems. It will not in any way help our country. It will not resolve any conflict. So what? could have been going on the mind of Marcos at this time. Ako kasi I would tend to read his actions based on yung logic lang, logic. He was asking Congress for certain laws to be passed. Okay? And those laws were never passed. Those laws were necessary for the economy. But Congress held him back. In fact, I'm not sure if it is the SONA of 1971 or 1972, where allegedly si Marcos paid rallyists. Huh? He had to pay rallyists or organized rallyists outside of Congress so that they will demand for those laws that he was asking to be passed. And in his SONA, he said, look, people outside, they're asking me for these laws. But they didn't act on it. Maraming batas yan. Okay? And the same way, right? In the same way, if you have noticed, there is an attempt now to actually deny BBM the laws that he is asking for during the SONA. Immediately after, if you have read it in my post, in fact, it did not really fly too much because itong kanilang accusation of a veto spree, parang in exchange of him approving everything that they legislated at the end of the Duterte administration, yung mga palusot ito ng mga batas eh. Huwag mo nang basahin, pirmahan mo na lang. Huwag mo ibito. Isipin mo, they're asking the president not to do his job. Right. Or else, we will not give you your laws. This is also one of the reasons why this whole thing started. Okay? This government under my leadership will never utilize the power, sabi ni Marcos, that latent capable power that is in its hands to destroy any legitimate strike, nor to deprive the people of their liberties. Do you hear this from a man who plans to destroy freedoms? And it is quite difficult to conceive a man who knew the law and was a very good lawyer, and at the same time, not only that, he was a speed reader. He could read 2 books a day, sabi. And it's hard to reconcile in your brain saying these things and planning out something is inconsistent with everything that you know to be true. Maniwala kayo, ang hirap po talaga niyan. This should not be taken as a sign of weakness. There have been some talk about the president becoming soft and weak, supine and submitting and humiliating himself before the drivers. I do not look at it this way, he said. I look at it as a consultation with the people from whom my power comes. I consult with them because it is necessary that they know what the consequences are of their actions. Alala niyo yung usapan natin kahapon about sovereignty? Ha? Same here. I consult with them because his power comes from them. Okay? I have not grown weak. Rather, I have grown cautious and prudent because if violence continues, there should be massive sabotage. If there should be massive sabotage, if there should be terrorism, if there is assassination, I will have no other alternative but to utilize the extraordinary power granted to me by our Constitution. These are the power to suspend the privilege of the writ of the habeas corpus under which any man can be arrested and detained for any length of time. These powers I do not wish to utilize, and it is for this reason that I appeal to our people tonight. I do not do so for myself. I do not say, do not criticize me. I welcome criticism. But Such things like, let us kill Marcos, let us fight in the hills, mount a revolution, is not going to help anyone, not even the press. You see, not even the press. The press and the president, they've always been at odds. No, yesterday there was a gathering of publishers called by a pressure group, and they demanded that there be a pulled editorial to call Marcos all kinds of names. Oh, hindi to bago pala, no? Now, how will that help our people? How will it help solve our conflict? The pulled editorial is supposed to incite and inflame the people to further passion. Does this tell you history repeats itself? Need to go naman si Luna. Sorry, Luna. Anyway, yeah, sharing me. This is exactly what we're talking about. Si Attorney Ahmed, he's repairing his connection. Okay. Di ba? To press, pressuring a president. I do not say anything except to appeal to them. Let the fight be between us, but do not involve our people. If the pressure groups have been hurt because I will no longer compromise with them, and I will stand for the welfare of our people. If in the past there had been compromises, now I will no longer allow it. Ano itong mga compromise na sinasabi dito? Uh, as I was saying, yung mga labor groups nun, yan sila, the names are mga Leyba, mga, yan sila Joma Season, yung kanilang mga kasamahan. No? And then when they split, okay, yung mga union na binagbubuo nila, there is a union for the people in the docks, there's a union for whatever, people in the factories, sila yung nakikipag-negotiate for their, yung mga KMU ngayon, yung mga ninuno niyan, okay? They made compromises all the time. They will not strike if the president will give this or that favor to them. And it was happening since the time of not I think Garcia pa. Okay? So I will not tolerate it. It is about time that we did this, and it is about time the president took the lead. I am taking the lead now. So imagine this is his second term. No? He has three more ye- 3 more years to go. However, much you may try to humiliate me, I will not knuckle down. I will stay, I will stand by the people. But I appeal to you, please, don't bring down the house in flames. Ano yung sisirain mo yung bansa? This is also what we are talking about. I mean, you just to impress your point that you have to be exonerated from your crimes, you will burn down the house, burn down the republic, make it look like it is a violator of human rights. Please do not use violence to attain your end. Sabi ng ano. Now, here comes the bride. The next day, Vice President Fernando Lopez resigned from the cabinet of Marcos. Hmm. Hmm. All right. I will cut that for now. And I will read your comments. Sabi dito, February 1 to 9, Diliman Commune. April 15, a Philippine Air Force plane crashed into a rice field from Pampanga. Okay. What did that? Okay, this is 1971, right? The Diliman Commune. Okay. The convention elects former President Carlos Garcia to send Okay. There is also an issue about that convention later on, no? This is about in the middle of 1971. But was it Garcia or just Dado Macapagal who headed that convention? I think it was just Dado Macapagal. Nemenzo was part of the PKP. Yeah, he was with the one. He was in the. Okay, the PKP later actually supported the declaration of martial law. So not all communists were actually against it. Sabi nyo, they underestimated Marcos' political will and the majority of of the people's will. Underestimated? I think no. They didn't underestimate him. They know that he would fight back. So what was he holding on to? Was it power? No, I don't think it was purely power. It's more of a. Well, I'll go to the second material now. No? And then come back to that because that is also very nice after that part. Okay. So, ilagay natin dito ano sabi ni ano, some playbook being used nowadays, 50-year-old, alam mo, that is my assessment too. And it's good that it's already very late because this is not for not for kids, itong topic natin. In fact, I will probably delete this after, no? Will not be shown anymore. So you will have, sayang naman, no? Sabi ni Luna, magre-replay siya. Okay? Ito naman, okay. Sige. Aha. Itong material na babalikan ko, ito sabi ko, na ikakat ko muna yung isa and then I will go to this one. Sino ba yung nagtanong kanina about the author? This one is clear. The author here is Teddy Boy. And Teddy Boy writes very well. You know that. We all know that. We all recognize that. No? There is no other Teddy Chodoro Doxin, right? It's just Teddy Boy. A specter is haunting Europe, the specter of communism. All the powers of old Europe have entered into a holy alliance to exorcise this specter. Pope and Tsar, Metternich and Guizot, French radicals and German police spies. Where is the party in opposition that has not been decried as communist by its opponents in power? Lahat daw ng ano. In fact, naiinis din ako paminsan-minsan no, when we see comments na everything na lang na ano na parang sa palagay nila hindi consistent with the way we think. Communist yan. It's an old issue where the opposition that has not hurled back the branding reproach of communism against the more advanced opposition parties as well as against its reactionary adversaries. Two things result from this fact. Communism is already acknowledged, and it is time that communism should openly, in the face of the whole world, publish their views, their aims, their tendencies, and meet the nursery tale of the specter of communism with the manifesto of the party itself. The Communist Manifesto. This is a week later, January 30, 1971. Ang title, A Specter is Haunting the Philippine Oligarchy. Wow. This is Teddy Boy Locsin writing, and I really respect itong pagsusulat niya. The specter of the revolt of the masses, led by no less than the President of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos, the biggest oligarch of them all. Hanip talaga to si Teddy Boy, no? The biggest oligarch of them all. Sabi niya, bakit ganun? Pula. According to the opposition, not to mention close friends who add, however, that since he has amassed a fortune which 3 generations of Marcoses cannot spend, he desires now to serve the nation. Aha! Kita niyo yung style niya, no? Hindi siya, hindi siya hate speech. But, look, Teddy Boy doesn't, okay, he begins like this, but actually he says differently. He is actually, you will see what is his main intention here. All the powers of the establishment, all vested interests should enter into a holy alliance to exorcise this specter. owners of public utilities, sugar centrals and estates, mines, cement factories, oil companies, banks, as well as the Fourth Estate and the CIA. Mhm. Inciting? Is this inciting? Na dapat pigilan daw itong specter nito mga to. To this end, one of these powers is gathered in the tall building in the suburbs. Ano ba itong tall building in the suburbs? I believe, if you look at the pictures, he is referring to the Meralco building. Wala pa kasi nung wala pa nung wala pa dyan yung Marco Polo, wala pa dyan yung mga mall. So that area was just a blank space, and there's a building in the middle, the Meralco building. The publishers and editors of the nation's leading newspapers and magazines to vilify the Marcos administration and bring it down through a series of pulled editorials. So 1 week later, what Marcos said, that there was a meeting, Teddy Boy confirms the existence of that plot to use the media to bring down the administration. The debauchement of the currency, ayan lumabas na. Political terrorism on a scale and of a virulence never reached before. The deterioration of public order, the utter loss of confidence in the institutions of the republic on the part of the common people have all been blamed on President Marcos by these conspirators. Wala na tayong freedom. Huwag nating pagkatiwalaan yung ating judicial system. Parang old playbook, no? Hindi Teddy Benigno, ha? No. This is not Teddy Benigno. This is, Diosdado Macapagal. Yep. This is a Tony Boy. Our Tony Boy, the foreign secretary ni Digong. He must have been a very young man at the time when he was writing this. No? In which held the post of Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Okay, wait. Wait, not that one. Kamali tuloy ako. Where am I? Here. Yeah. Two things have resulted from his efforts. The universal opinion is that Marcos is the worst president this nation ever had. You see, as early as 1971, that seed has already been planted. By whom? As far as Tony Boy is concerned, writing in 1971, by the media, by these publishers and editors meeting in the tall building in the suburbs. Anyone who says good word for the president damages his reputation irreparably. You get restricted or throttled. In the olden days, meron na pala niyan. Pangit naman. Hindi na makikita. Gawin natin siyang dilawan. Yan. Kitang-kita. Teddy Boy Locsin, okay? Ang ganda, no? Yellow and red. Okay. It is high time that this fairy tale of Marcosian malevolence is shown for what it is. Ito talagang galing talaga nito si Teddy Boy. A vicious lie started by certain vested interests who would bend the president to their corrupt will. Now, this is definitely an unbiased statement. What you think? For this purpose, President Marcos has come out with a declaration of war on the oligarchy. See what was going on in 1971. There. It is now time to fight the pressure groups and oligarchs in the name of the people, said the president. There are too many inequities. The rich continue to grow richer and the poor continue to grow poorer. Ayan, no? Ito mga teddy boy yung mga tunog nito. I will see to it that my remaining 3 years will be devoted to removing these inequities. He confessed to having compromised with the oligarchs in the past. He had thought that the rich could be counted on to help in the development of the nation, to give it the industrial base without which it could never pull itself out of the quagmire of feudal poverty and stagnation in the condition of an economic colony of the industrial states. All right. At that time, we were classified as an agricultural country. And maganda yung explanation nito ni Attorney Glenn Chong nung tambayan namin the other day. Sabi niya, to be classified as an agricultural country, your GNP, your total GNP, a sizable portion of that or the biggest portion of that must be accounted for by agriculture. And we were that. Kumbaga, compare mo siya sa ibang production components in the GNP. Doon siya doon mo siya i-base. But all that is past. The president said he had finally realized that nothing can be expected of the rich except progressive greed and an inexorable instinct for monopoly. This is an old issue. Monopolize the media, monopolize everything. Conscience, it seems, is one luxury the rich cannot afford to have. Opo, Amor. Amor, I miss you, Amor. If it was a blinding vision, the converted soul of Tarsus, pahingan mo, na natin yung pag-uusapan. The rich man in Asia, as his enemies call him, into a protector of the common people, the leader, as he would like to style himself, of a popular revolution from the top. Revolution from the top. An old slogan used with no effect during last year's student riots will become a reality at last. So, I don't think Tony Boy is now writing, alam mo yun, ng pabaliktad, just like me trying to be friendly with our friends in Twitter, right? I think this is really a Tony Boy, no? Tony Boy speaking his heart out. Ano sabi niyo dito? I see now. They did not underestimate President Marcos' political will. They were intimidated by precisely, and they did all they can to gets mo. I think the key here is more information about the Marcos time. We should know everything that from the precisely, and not only the Marcos time, we should review critical periods of our history from the time. Diba? Understanding it from the way the people, the actors were really understanding it. Okay, who were these Lopez brothers that we are talking about? Ito si Eugenio Lopez Jr. sa ngayon. The third na yan siya. Yung dating chairman ng ABS-CBN. He is the son of Eugenio Lopez Jr. And there is a Eugenio Lopez Sr. na ang kapatid ay yung Vice President ni Marcos. Okay? Gets niyo yung yung levels. Alright. The statement still holds true and repeating lang talaga. Itong dalawang magkapatid, yung Lopez brothers na sinasabi, they are the geniuses. In fact, alam mo yung si Alvin Toffler? Si Alvin Toffler looked like a student of theirs. I didn't know until I read yung background dito si Alvin Toffler, who talked about information being the currency of the future. Third wave. And we are now even in the fourth or fifth wave. Whenever he wrote his books, he would go to Singapore. And sabi, his inspirations were always based on Asian experiences. So maybe, just maybe, I'm not so sure, Alvin Toffler was actually looking at the Lopeses or looking at the things here in the Philippines. So let's move on. All right, where are we? There. Convinced that the brownout was not an accident but contrived by the Lopeses who owned the controlling stock of Meralco to humiliate him and exacerbate the tensions generated by seemingly insoluble strife, which he suspected was inspired and financed by the same party. President Marcos publicly pointed at the Lopeses, an accusing finger, calling them the most malevolent of the oligarchs who are strangling the common people with high prices. Excuse me. Ano ba to? Hindi ko maintindihan. Bakit minsan highlight tapos minsan text? Ano ba yan? O yan o. Ano ba? Ano ba maganda? Black and yellow. Oh, okay. Naalala niyo yung mga brownout natin bago mag-election? Alam niyo ba na yung ating pinag-uusapang First Philippine Holdings ay ang gumagawa? Hindi, they're no longer into Meralco distribution but they are in the generation now. Sila nang gumagawa ng kuryente. Aside from the National Power Corporation. So, in the darkness before dead microphone, what he had wanted was not light but electricity which would give him the voice to reach his people for whom he was no longer the President of the Republic but a dangerous nuisance. Alam mo yun, yung nagsasalita ka, napapatayan ka na ano. Isn't this, parang throttling na nangyayari ngayon sa Facebook. They would have to endure for 3 awful years more because he has the armed forces at his beck and call. So hindi na nila kaya, tama ka, hindi nila kaya. They were afraid of his power. They were afraid of the armed forces and they wanted him out. The increasing cost of living is responsible for the credibility gap. The president is aware. He insists, however, that the blame be not placed on him. True, he had devalued the peso. Okay, and then now, the valuation, but it was increased in Meralco rates that started the spiraling of prices. Okay, yan, politika na yan. Okay? But the devaluation of the peso actually affected Meralco in a sense na yung kanilang lahat ng utang doubled because the first devaluation resulted into the immediate doubling of the exchange rate between peso and dollar. The Lopez, he said, had tried to intimidate him into approving several projects of dubious advantage to the nation. Makabawi man lang, no? Makabawi man lang sa, pahingin na lang ng projects, pahingin na lang ng, ito yung tinatawag ng mga eksperto na rent-seeking. Rent-seeking. One of these would give them a monopoly of this country's oil supply. I like it. Right? They had threatened, if he did not accede to their request, to launch a vehement campaign in the media they own to discredit him before the nation. You see the power of a monopolized media? This is it. Vice President resigned from the Marcos cabinet. Yeah, we know that from the other material. The Department of Agriculture, which he had the charge of, is one of the few departments that exudes a good smell. But he had to go, and he did. Clamor from Meralco rates. Yeah. Oh, it was not, should ask the president to roll back the rate of exchange from 6 to 1 to the previous rate of 390 to 1. No, it was not a doubling, but actually, ilan ba? 50% pala. Hindi pala 100%. Kasi 4 pesos plus 2. Yeah, about 52%. And we will immediately also roll back our present increased rates that they were before in the floating rate. Yon. So this is the issue, the floating rate of exchange. So, do you understand this fiat money and gold backed money issue? I we would like to spend some time on that subject later. Na pag-usapan namin yung Ahmed yan. We need to talk about the economy and actually future shock. That was Alvin Toffler, and then umabot into third wave. Most of his books were written there in Singapore, inspired by Asian experiences. Okay, the Lopez brothers and their heirs, they could not have made the old adage, the pen is mightier than the sword, more true. They use media as a weapon. Yes, in fact, if you read McCoy writes how the two brothers started out, and he traces it into their revival of their father's old newspaper in Iloilo to incite so many political upheavals there. In fact, McCoy says that the first labor union in the country started with the sugar industry in Iloilo, and they were the ones fueling the flames. Anet, magandang gabi po. Morning na ba? Morning na po. Maayong gabi from Taiwan. Wow, Taiwan. Uy, keep safe ha. Pero sabi, may nabasa ako, hindi daw mangyayari yan. Yung gera nyo dyan. Ano yan? Posturado. Alright. So, ano itong PSC? Decision that Meralco case. Public Services Commission. Alam nyo ba na yung Public Services Commission na to is actually the subject matter of the thing na pag-usapan din natin yung Commonwealth Act number 146, yung bago lang na inamyenda na batas mula nung 19 kopong-kopong 1930s that regulated the ownership and the management of public services. And Meralco, which had an income of 93 million pesos annually, pays only 25% of its income instead of 75% because the Lopez's were able to have a bill passed in Congress requiring the Meralco to pay only that comparatively small amount, said the president. Wow. Labor. The president went on, his answer will call down the rally side. Labor leaders, okay, ibang grupo to, no? Submitted the resolution encouraging the fight against the oligarchs. The resolution, according to the president, clearly proved just where the sympathies of labor truly lie, with him. At actually, hatian sila. Pero, dahil nga nasa kanya, yan, ito tutuso sila. Oka, yan yung mga name, ha? Itong Roberto Oka na to, ang tindi nito. This guy almost paralyzed the entire shipment of tobacco, the entire beer, paralyzed the entire economy of the Philippines because he organized the stevedores, yung mga naghahakot dyan sa pier. And then they strike during the time of Macapagal. Big shot yan si Roberto Oca. And then he ran for mayor of Manila, but he didn't win. Okay? So we are not for anybody. The workers had been invited to the palace and they could not refuse, said Oka. As union men, Oka went on, we would be untrue to our cause if we didn't support any effort for the uplift of the groaning workers. You see? But this Oka, ano talaga to? Player yan. Kaya don't be surprised if you see pictures of Marcos sitting down in the palace with Joma Sison because these people, ito sila, Oka, yan yung mga nauna kay Joma. The unions, he said, are not only interested in rolling back the new Meralco rates, but also the price of fuel and other products as well. The president said Oka even promised to go after businesses supposedly owned by his cronies. Okay. Now, those issues will go on and on and on and on and on, and I think if you will allow me to just proceed dito sa ano ni Tony Boy. Tony Boy nga ba? Tony Boy ba to? Sino nga ba to? Teddy Boy. Sorry. Tony Boy tuloy. Kuhaan ko na naiisip ko. Teddy Boy. Teddy Boy. Okay. The Teddy Boy, the great writer and the great foreign affairs. Okay. Ito pa. Cipriano Cid. Okay. Yan si Oka Cipriano Cid. Yan yung mga founders ng Partido Komunista ng Pilipinas. And dito si Joma Season, bata-bata lang nila to. Okay? These were the Cipriano Cid. Okay. They had to use President Marcos and Malacanang as a forum for their traditional subservience to politicians and government officials at the sacrifice of their cause and their own dignity and independence. You see, the leaders of the communist groups were always, di ba, negotiating with the government. They were not yet outlaws. Okay? Ang kalaban nila na komunista noon at the time na outlaw, yung Huk Balahap, hindi nila yun Yun naman yung grupo nila, sino itong taga Pangasinan? Pampanga, whatever. And yung congressman din. Panahon nila, Quirino pa yon. So those older people, yung mga hooks, medyo wala na sila by that time. So no wonder Filipinos and foreigners, particularly Americans, feel they can use Filipino unions and their leaders as doormats. Don't you see how this applies to even Aguinaldo? Pwede kasing bayaran yung mga leaders natin eh. No? This is how our this has been true about our leaders since the time of Aguinaldo, the Treaty of Biak-na-Bato, and you will remember our discussion with Sash where he was offered again $1 million just to ganun lang. Tumigil ka lang. So Sid informs secretarially allegedly of labor, Blas Ople. Blas Ople actually and Sid, they're friends. They're actually in the same of the same color. And Blas Ople, you know him, he wrote the labor code. No? Efforts to promote and continue dividing the labor front by the information of multiple labor centers with the support of the president of the labor department. You see? Compromise. Okay? And they later on we have this labor code because of that situation. We do not deny any damn fool's right to form and organize any and all kinds of unions to his heart's content, if this would satisfy his vanity and his ends, but not with the open support of the president and his labor secretary, Sid concluded. Unfazed. Okay, so these were the labor issues. Okay. Vowed that he would end once and for all the control of big sectors of the media by vested interest groups. These groups cannot be made to account for their actions according to the president since they control so much of the press, radio, and television. There's no way to bring their anomalies to public notice. Magkano nga ba yung na-settle? 1.28 billion inayos ng 135. Is there a way to bring it to the public notice? No. Dahil pati Luminous, walang boses. Okay? This only proves my earlier statements that it is dangerous for any single man or group to own such a substantial portion of the media in the country without having to account for to the people of the Philippines. This explains when he later declared martial law, Presidential Decree number 576A. 576A sets a limit to the number of radio stations and TV stations, AM, FM, that any broadcast company may own within the entire country. A law that still exists, a law that has not been repealed, a law that has been affirmed by the Supreme Court in very recent decisions, even used against the ABS-CBN decisions for its other parts, but not that part of limiting the number of stations. But even that part has not been declared unconstitutional or repealed. But the NTC allows to be violated again and again by not only one, but many, many networks. Not many, not too many actually, just a few. Itong sinasabi, dangerous for any single man or group, just a group. The group of the Ayalas, the Lopezes, Pangilinan, and Bomboradyo and Elizalde. Lima, to violate this. You know. The Roses and Prietos. Sino ba ito mga to? Prieto of Inquirer? Roses, the owner of ABC5 at the time. Associated Broadcasting Company or Corporation. Basta, nung ni-revive nila yung ABC, whatever was the old name, ginawang company or corporation or the other way around. But it is no longer the same. Okay. The Roses and Prietos are not only in the lumber industry, the movie business, real estate, and racing, but also in the publishing business with Manila Times, the Daily Mirror, Taliba, Women's Magazine. Ito, napakalakas nito daw dati. Ito, Women's Magazine. And in radio and television. Comments anyone? Denies their pernicious acts in the guise of basic human rights like speech. Franchise law. Franchise law has always been there since the enactment of that Radio Control Act in the 1930s. Ano yan eh? Mga Commonwealth Acts pa yan. So, nandoon na yan. Luis Tarok, yep, that's the name. Luis Tarok. Ito yung taga Pampanga. Sila yung any descendants of Roberto Oca? I do not know. Oca. Parang hindi ko na siya napapakinggan. Or hindi ko alam talaga. I think hindi na yan sila viable na. Hindi ata yan sila yumaman eh. Okay, the Roses and Prietos are, okay? The Elizalde. Elizalde is Manila Broadcasting, Star City, whatever. And they were the sugar barons of Iloilo when the two brothers were just starting. Ang sabi, they are the descendants of that company in the Spanish times called Inchausti. And there are cases that are being studied in civil law na Inchausti versus blah blah blah. Yan. Sila yan. Elizalde are not only in sugar, rope, rum, steel, but also in publishing, in the evening news, the Sun, and in radio and television. Radio, they own the oldest radio station in Metro Manila, DZRH. Okay? And television, meron pala sa TV dati pa. I didn't notice. What was that channel? Okay? But, okay, they're also into steel. What steel is this? Apparently, this is the National Steel Corporation later on, the one in Iligan City, which is a very big investment of the country. Hans Menzi. Who is this Menzi? Menzi Zipper. Yeah. I think the family is still around. And Zipper's Fruit has just gotten a huge loan from the government or a government guarantee for one paper mill or something, and also in publishing with the Manila Daily Bulletin and Liwayway. Buhay pa ba si Liwayway? Naalala ko pa yung Liwayway. I see those publications before. Manila Daily Bulletin, wala na ata to. Okay, that's dead. The Sorianos. Okay, itong mga Sorianos, the last time I heard of them, they were trying to start an airline. But hindi na masyado ito nakabangon. But I know they also have a lot of, kumbaga silent touch, no? So they have beer, ice cream, soft drinks, Bislig. I don't know what this Bislig is. I know that Bislig an island now, but is there business before called Bislig? So on and so forth. And they also have the Philippine Herald and Channel 13. So you know the story of Channel 13, right? Ito yung IBC na nagkaroon ng kaso dahil tinake over daw yan unlawfully ni Benedicto, which was later on dismissed. And there is President Marcos' own close associate. Yeah, Roberto Benedicto. Ito, kawawa din doon taon to after EDSA. Who's not only in this and that, but also in television, having acquired for himself and others at something like 10 million the formerly Lopez-owned Channel 9. Imagine niyo in 1971, meron na siyang former Channel 9. How many stations did they have in Metro Manila? 2. TV stations. What was that? Channel 2 and Channel 4. Don't forget about that. So not only the Lopezes, but also these would come under the president's classification of groups that cannot be made to account for their actions. So those are the oligarchs that Marcos was talking about before. But who among them really was the most notorious or the most heavily suspected or heavily connected to all of this attack on the on the president's term, itong dalawa. Saan ba yun? Roses. And this is the Chino Roses Street that you know in Makati. And the Lopezes, of course. Why are they singled out? Apparently, there must have been a reason. Ito si Roses, hindi ko alam talaga kung anong contribution nito because everything that has been written has always been about the Lopezes. But when Marcos issued the order to shut down everything in broadcast and print on September 22, not 21 or 23, something like that. After that order, another order was issued with a dash A to sequester the broadcast facilities of the Roses and Lopez groups. And in real actually didn't confirm that in his testimony in Congress during the ABS-CBN hearings last 2020, but he cannot deny that because the law specifically names him as the implementer. And not only that, there is a Supreme Court decision later on which actually confirmed his power to do it. Ay, nako, in really. Alright. So, the battle cry was down with the oligarchs. So you see how openly the term oligarchs was being used in the media and in the press in the 70s. This is something we do not see now. In fact, para siyang naging taboo. What could have caused this change in our linguistics or in the words that we use? Most of our young Filipinos do not even understand what an oligarch is or do not even acknowledge that they exist. But if you look into the literature of the time, before the Marcoses, oligarchs were all over the place. Bakit ngayon wala? Ngayon, makikita mo na lang yung oligarchs ng Pilipinas na sinusulat ng mga experts, ina-analyze, not by Filipinos uh, but by professors in Cambridge, professors in Harvard, talking about it, and then published there in journals in the United States or journals in Germany or journals in wherever. But Filipino scholars, experts in UP, one might as well be a diabolist who did not go for the black mass or would have nothing to do with Satan. An oligarchy, what is an oligarchy? Is a government by the rich, of the rich few, and for the rich few, and must necessarily be oppressive of the impoverished many. Teddy boy, you wrote this. I want to pause there and let you allow you to let that sink in. That this is how our writers described the Philippines in 1971. The rich are either oligarchs and therefore oppressive, or they are not oligarchs at all, merely people with a lot of money. That is true. Not every rich person is an oligarch. Not every rich businessman in the Philippines is an oligarch. Okay? Concentrations of wealth in a few tend, however, to further concentration of wealth in ever fewer, that is towards monopolies and cartels. And that is always the danger with our capitalist system. No? And President Marcos, forgetting his distinction between mere oligarchs and oppressive oligarchs, announced that he would extend the revolt of the masses that he led to bring down monopolies and cartels outside of the Lopez economic empire. He would subject to government investigation oil companies. Okay. Itong mga oil companies na to, who is he trying to appease here? He is trying to appease here the likes of OCA, the likes of the communists, because in their analysis, itong mga oil companies na to, which were all foreign investments, okay, were also involved in yung pagpapahirap sa ating mga kababayan because of their control dahil ano sila, ah, cartel din yung oil na yun na ang players lang ay iilan. No? Rumored to be operating as a cartel, it is a conspiracy against the consumers, keeping prices up through price fixing and suppression of competition. He would deal similarly with just public utilities as the Philippine Long Distance and Telephone Company, which at that time, if I'm not mistaken, was owned by foreign interest American pa tayong mas malaking interest at the time, which has increased its rates like Meralco and airlines like, hindi ko alam kung sino to si Toda. If anyone can identify this, o nagkamali lang to ng ano. Okay. Philippine Airlines, who owned the Philippine Airlines at the time, and the shipping lines and bus companies, presumably. The shipping lines was very important at the time because itong airlines was only very small aircraft and hindi dito nagre-rely yung shipment ng ating mga goods. Mostly for tao to, and then the mail and a few pieces of parcel. But at the time, trade was really happening through the shipping industry, and even up to now, inter-island trade is very reliant on that. And then, of course, once you get to the ports, you will rely again on the bus and the trucking companies. If you will look at the work of McCoy on how the Lopez brothers started, you will notice that they actually bought the first airline in the Visayas region. They formed it. And they went into these two, shipping and bus. The Lopez brothers do not own any government financial institutions. Okay. So among the oligarchs down, Senator Benigno Aquino Jr. has furnished the Free Press with a list of those who enjoy government guarantees of loans in the tens of hundreds of millions of pesos. All right, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? Government, when it enters into a contract with their suppliers, the most that people know is yung bidding, right? Those biddings, yun yung naririnig natin na halos hindi binabayaran ng ating gobyerno at nagrereklamo yung mga supplier. Ano sinasabi nito? During the era when information was under the exclusive control of the oligarchy, the power to manipulate narratives to destroy. Oh yeah. Because that was the only way you get to know anything. Wala kang internet. Wala kang text. Isipin mo, magtatawag ka lang sa kamag-anak mo na nasa, let's say for example, you are staying in a province like Sorsogon and then you want to call someone in Legazpi, you have to go to a place called PTNT or RCPI, pipila ka doon, and then tatawag ka ng long distance. That was how it was done that time. And long distance calls were very expensive. And then, kung magpapadala ka ng mensahe, yung text natin ngayon, idadaan mo yun sa RCPI again or PTNT, ititelegrama mo yan. And telegrama was counted by the syllable. At yun yung babayaran mo per message na sometimes isang sentence or dalawang sentence costs. At that time, minsan nauutusan ako noon in the 80s, about 10 pesos per message at the time. And one bottle of Coke was only 1 peso. So kung ngayon, 50, nasa magkano ba ang Coke ngayon na maliit? Say, 12 pesos. So, times 10. So, 120 per message. Ganyan ang komunikasyon noon. Yep, they also own, kaya nga nakalagay doon, beer, no? Si Soriano. Alright? Todas. Ano ba itong Todas? The Todas are prominent. Really? Where are they? Na Todas? Young Toda. Oh, didn't know about this. Huh? Who is Young Toda? Yung airline, yata ng mga Lopez. No. There was an airline in Visayas. Yeah. And RCPI was actually owned by the Lopezes. ICC yan, ICC, International Communication, something. Bayantel is RCPI. Yeah. ICC Bayantel. That is now, that became Bayantel later on. Right. Let's proceed a little bit. Right. No? So, among them is Negros Group, which recently acquired the ESO fertilizer. Ito yung may mga utang daw, no? ESO fertilizer. ESO is another brand ng petroleum company, ESO, no? US brand. So, huge government guarantee. And there's the Elizalde Steel. Ito yung sa Iligan sinasabi. Which enjoys a government guarantee loan of tens of millions of pesos. And the Iligan Steel Mill Inc., which is half a billion pesos. Okay, what are these government guarantees? These are government-backed loans for projects that are, kumbaga, approved by the government and then privately implemented. Pero kung yan ay hindi umubra, yung bayad sa utang niyan ay garantisado ng gobyerno. Does it still happen now? Yun yung tinatawag nila later on na accusation kay Marcos na behest loan. Okay? Behest loan. Do you know what it is called now? Sige nga. What is the name of this kind of loan now? And we still have this, yes, we still have this up to now. Sige, sino makakahula kung anong tawag nitong mga klaseng loan na to na may government guarantee? Okay, So pag yan nag-default si si private debtor from a bank locally or abroad, sagot ng gobyerno yan. Hintayin ko na lang yung sagot. No? Any complaint, for instance, of undue increase in the price of fertilizer or discriminatory conduct on the part of the fertilizer company should bring down the head of the management, the wrath of the leader of the revolt against the oligarchs, oppressive style. So Tony Boy was anticipating that if this revolution from the top would actually happen, people were expecting that there will be changes, social changes, yung economic strangling na ginagawa ng mga oligarchs ay mababawasan o mawawala. Complaints against the price of steel, which is so essential to the industrialization of the country, should lead to quick and ruthless presidential action against the Elizalde steel rolling mills and illegal integrated steel mills. Example daw sa US, okay? Bethlehem Steel. Okay, Bethlehem Steel is the American manufacturing of raw iron into whatever cast form. And at the time, that was really the best kind of steel that you can get. In fact, I've used this Bethlehem steel na mga towers from World War II in the 1990s. Hindi kinakalawang. Okay, so it can happen here under the New Marcos dispensation. Yan yung mga pangarap. Okay? And the Chinese, ito, kaaway nila talaga itong mga Chinese. Matagal na. Si Antonio Rojas Chua daw ay bantay-bantay na. Kilala niyo pa ba to? I got to know the grandson, si Timothy. He owns a lot of clubs in Manila. He's a good guy. Party guy. This new Marcos and no oppressor of the people will be spared. In the end, to what Tony Boy says is, arise, you wretched of the earth, and follow the leader. The president, not the magazine. What do you mean? What does he mean by the president, not the magazine? The leader kasi is the headline. So you follow the president, not the magazine. You have nothing to lose but your change. You have a world to win. Then comes the dawn. So this is how Teddy Boy wrote in 1971, January of 1971. So did people really despise the idea of going into martial law before it happened? Obviously no. Exactly 20 months before it happens, you have this kind of writing by no less than a Teddy Boy looks in. So, which brings us now to that part we actually reserved for last. At kung sino man yung natira dyan, you're lucky because you will see this letter by Marcos to his vice president. And this letter is very beautiful letter. A love letter actually. Lakihan natin ng konti siguro para makita nyo yung font. Alright, masyadong maliliit. Lalakihan. So we heard twice that Lopez resigned, resigned his post as the Secretary of Agriculture. Okay. The Vice President said that he had tendered his resignation as early as December last year and that he had gone to President Marcos to reiterate his offer of resignation. See how Marcos responds. It is with deep regret that I received your offer to resign from your position as Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources. It is with even deeper regret that in view of developments over the recent past, I must now accept your resignation. Bah, forcing my hand. Poker na poker, no? I assure you, there is nothing personal in my acceptance of your resignation. Bah, siya na yung nagre-resign. Ako pa yung nagiging personal, ha? You and I have been in the best of relations. Aha. Magkaibigan tayo noon, pare ko, eh. But your position in the cabinet has now become untenable in view of your relationship with the financial and political interests that I have identified as constituting a pressure group intent upon the destruction of my development program. Yan ang sapang lalaki. Walang paligoy-ligoy. I have given you more responsibility and invested your office with more prestige than any vice president, notwithstanding the fact that the media controlled by the Lopez interests were vicious and malicious in their attacks against my person. Saan ka dyan? Hanip, no? 23 years old daw si ano niyan, si Teddy Boy. Is it true that late President Ramos sold illegal steel? I think so because it was already it it was actually just privatized to the Malaysians. Okay? So tuloy natin. With the obvious aim of discrediting the government in the eyes of the people and thus undermining the best interest of the nation. While you were a member of my cabinet, the Lopez interests, specifically Mr. Eugenio Lopez Sr., yung kapatid ito, and Mr. Eugenio Lopez Jr., tatay ito ni the third. Ito yung si ELJ, no? El Capitan, ito yun, si Mr. Eugenio Lopez Jr. Were engaged in fomenting unrest and inciting the already militant and impassioned groups who advocate anarchy and assassination. So, as early as this time, and this has been published by the Free Press no less, this is an open thing. No? It is quite unimaginable that after 1986, no one remembers this. The media controlled by the Lopez interests are still engaged in this and have in fact intensified their campaign against me, notwithstanding the fact that you once assured me of continued amity and cooperation. Naniwala ka naman kasi po. I have begged for unity in the political leadership knowing that this is demanded by the times and expected by our people. Di ba? Sino ba naman may gusto niyan na mag-away-away sila dun sa taas? However, the Lopezes have seen fit to make an issue of my refusal to approve their project for the establishment of a lubricating oil factory, a petrochemical complex, the purchase of Caltex, and the use of Laguna Divide Development Project for reclamation of areas to be utilized for an industrial complex. Wow! Ang dami mong pangarap, boy. Makabawi lang. There are many and varied favors, concessions, and privilege which I am expected to extend to this group, but which I have not. If this is not true, why would he write this to Lopez? I think this is really true. As I have previously said, the pressure group I have identified is intent upon maligning my administration and by means of propaganda and various maneuvers has sought to undermine public confidence in the government under my stewardship. Amor, is that you? Is that you, Amor? I see, Amor, my love. These designs of this pressure group, according to very reliable information, took a particularly insidious form in the incitement and support it provided to the elements which participated in the violent demonstrations yesterday. Ito yung mga driver daw, tsaka mga estudyante. It is now obvious that this pressure group is not unwilling to employ the most despicable means. Not unwilling to employ, double negation, that you are ready to employ the most despicable means, including crime and anarchy, to achieve its ends. This is a letter from a president to his vice president. From our long association, you know, of course, that I have been tolerant of this and other pressure groups in the past. Indeed, so tolerant as to give many people the impression that I have succumbed to their devices and manipulations.
No. Pwede ba si Magic Sarin
Yes.
kahit, hindi ba, kahit na may regla?
Ay, sa baba lang. Kasi magkakalat.
Tataas na tataas eh.
Ay, then let her stay here. I assure you that I have not succumbed to them. I had merely endeavored to remain as calm at the same time watchful as the great responsibilities of my office required. This is expected of a president. If you look at how they describe Cory also in that coup d'etat by Tolentino, that is how they describe her. You assure me that you cannot continue in your position as Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources while the shadow of doubt and suspicion hangs over you in view of your relationship to one of the the pressure groups I have spoken of. I am glad that you realize the difficult and untenable position you are in. While I would have wanted you to continue as a member of my cabinet, I feel, on the other hand, that these events will follow and the decisions that I will have to make from here on, possibly affecting the interest and personal fortunes of the pressure groups I have mentioned, could cause personal embarrassment for both of us. And the only way to avoid such embarrassment would be to accept resignation. This is 20 months away from martial law. Now, to say that Marcos didn't consider at the time martial law would be the height of the height of fanaticism and folly, because Marcos, as described, was a very good planner and he did not do anything without very careful and long planning. And yes, it is evident that he knew that just like chess, he could see the moves. He could see the moves 20 months away what will happen. So finally, I wish to thank you for the assistance you've given my administration. Yeah, no. But still, compare ko tong sulat ni Marcos na to kay Aguinaldo to General Merritt and General Otis before they actually engage in war. Mga ano to, kung ito grado nito 95, yun 100. Eugenio Lopez Jr., President of the Philippine Petroleum Corporation. Oh, what is this? PPC. Is this the Petron later on? I do not know. A subsidiary of Meralco Securities. Said so many words that President Marcos was lying when he said that he, Lopez Jr., and his father had been exerting pressure on him. The president, particularly in the case of lubricating oil refinery in Sukat. So here, this is how another media person describes another media person. So this is just like this free press being not kumbaga hindi ito sila yung expansive and controlling press. They were just really doing their press work. So they are criticizing their fellow press. Parang kami. Okay, the PPC president said that duly granted authority, so explain, that they were authorized. Okay, Lopez Jr. said that in August 18, 1970, Laguna Lake Development Authority, in a letter signed by the general manager, wished to construct the refinery will be reclaimed by the authority and the authority board has approved. Alam mo yun? justification. Fact check. 1970 style. To make the president's claim in that letter invalidated by media, they do a fact check. Oh my God. I just realized right now, this is a fact check to prove that the president is wrong. No? Based on this letter, the PPC purchase October 1, it's partially false. He said that prior to undertaking, in other words, he said, it was only the approval of President Marcos for the Laguna Lake Development Authority to proceed with the reclamation of the proposed site of the oil lubricating that was being awaited. Considerable expense has been made in various works preparatory to the construction of the refinery, it was learned. According to Lopez, the lubricating oil refinery, when fully operational, will not only earn dollars but also allow the Philippines to net foreign exchange savings of up to $13 million annually, or up to $3,500 a day. What is $13 million at a time? I do not know. Alam mo yun, sa mga Pinoy, pag nakabasa ng ganyan, malaking halaga yan. Exim Bank of Washington. Dito, malaki sila utang dito. Malaki. On December 30 last year, approved the financing of the PPC refinery in the amount of 15.5 million, as Junior said. Wow. As soon as January 5, 1970, the International Finance Corporation, IFC, buhay pa to, ito yung financing arm ng World Bank. They are also now financing yung mga maniningil ng mga utang, sila yan. An affiliate of the World Bank approved financing for the construction of PPC refinery in the same amount of 6.2 million, and on the basis of the merit of the project agreed to purchase equity in the refinery in the amount of $1.8 million, thereby providing financing totaling $8 million. Lopez said. Okay, back to the question. What is it called now? What is it called now? Yung ganong klaseng behest loans are, no, it's just not a virtual gift. It is a valid contract. Alam makaguess? Sulat ko dito It is now called, there you go. PPPP. So if you will look at the news about the other day or 3 days ago, that the Philippines now has a national debt of 12 trillion pesos. A big part of that debt is actually sovereign guarantees for projects that are undertaken under PPPP. Because these loans that are being criticized here, like the illegal steel, that is why Ramos was able to sell it later on. Sino yung nagtanong dito? FBR? Yeah, Ramos was able to sell it later on to Malaysians. Una Pilipino yun and then nabenta to Malaysians. It was privatized actually. It was kasi walang gumagamit, no? Yun yung privatization Kasi mga sinequester to ng mga projects. Because the government eventually paid for its guarantee dahil hindi naman nag-click yung mga negosyo na yon. And this thing, if I'm not mistaken, ito hinihingi ni Lopez na only the president's signature was lacking. The president's signature was actually to give a guarantee that they will make those loans from Exim Bank and from the whoever's the IFC amounting to those many millions and have it guaranteed by the Philippine government that if their business will fail, the government will pay. Just like that. Boom, boom. Lutong Macau. No? But if they make it appear here para bang nag-offer kami dyan, project namin yan. Hindi niya pinirmahan Sama talaga ng tao ngayon. Leaders of the striking jeepney drivers said that there was no truth daw na pinayaran sila. Okay, fine. The Lopez brothers have not helped. Whatever. Nationalista, so denial, by using violence against unarmed citizens, ventilating the ills and problems, blah, 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 blah. Kasi nagkaroon daw ng patayan dyan. No? The national president ng malayang pagkakaisa ng kabataang Pilipino, Ruben Torres. Mga ano to eh, no? Later, executive secretary ni Fidel Ramos. Bait to si Ruben Torres. Meron nga itong palabas, di ba? Yung rebelde daw siya. Denounced the renewed threat of President Marcos to impose martial law and suspend the writ of habeas corpus. Nacionalista Speaker Jose B. Laurel. The Constitution is specific. It allows President to suspend the privilege of writ of habeas corpus or to place the country or any part thereof under martial law only in the case of invasion, insurrection, rebellion, imminent danger thereof. When the public safety requires it. I do not think any of these circumstances exist at the moment. Yes, it did not exist at that moment. But you actually did this rebellion, insurrection, and imminent danger later on. Nacionalista Jose Jokno. Jokno, tatay ni Chel, na nagpapasok ng FBI. Alam niyo itong kwento na to, no? Para ipahuli si Stonehill na hindi alam ng presidente niya. Proposed that Marcos and all other elected national officials resign. Wow! And another election be held in June to determine whether the people still have confidence in him. Liberal Representative Jose Lingad from Pampanga. May brother kami ng Lingad. Ito pala si Jose Lingad. Should prove his patriotism by resigning from office or at least taking a leave of absence, the people having lost confidence in him. Ano klaseng patriotism at statesmanship ang gawain ng isang presidente na magre-resign? Anong to? Ito yung ginawa nila kay Erap, di ba? If Marcos went through with this threat to lift the writ of habeas corpus or declare martial law, Lingad went on, Congress might as well go close shop. Di gawin nyo. Diba? The demonstrations held so far in the Philippines against the government and the violence that has marked some of them are nothing compared with the violent expression of protest in the United States. Hindi pa daw kasi masyado malala dito. President Nixon has yet to speak of the possibility of suspending the writ of habeas corpus or imposing martial law on the American people. You see, we gauge our president against the American action. That is how parodic we are. We cannot even allow our own people to make decisions without comparing their decision to what the President of America is doing. If he were to do so, is there any doubt he would be impeached and ousted from office? Why does President Marcos keep talking of the possibility of suspending the writ or imposing martial law, Nash? The solution for the problem of social unrest in the Philippines is not suspension of the writ of habeas corpus or the imposition of a military dictatorship in the Filipino people, but reform. Really? Regain the confidence of the people with the media telling them no? Stop corruption and the waste of the nation's resources in senseless extravagance. Agree. Set moral example. Be a true president of the Filipino people. Is it too difficult to do? Must the writ be suspended? Must there be martial law? What can you say about this last argument? Sino magsasabi na ito? Kaninong argumento yan? Pare, kaninong argumento yan? Uy, Ma'am Nila, thank you. Familiar ba? Yan. This is what they used to say to Duterte whenever Duterte joke never but that he will impose martial law, di ba? Wala talaga. Walang, walang pagkakaiba sa linyada ng dilawan, yung ano, no? So this is what we see right now is actually just a reflection of what happened a year before 1971. So imagine ninyo, what if they do this conglomeration once more? Is there a possibility that they will actually be doing this something conglomeration of the editors making a coordinated attack against the president and demand a resignation, and no one else can actually voice out any other opinion because everyone else has been throttled. Having breakfast na si madam? Where are you? Yun, moral leadership in Chorba. So what they are actually threatening is not just the president, di ba? Because the president serves a term based on a constitution, based on law, based on the sovereignty that was exercised by the people in making its demand from that person in his election. To ask him to abdicate, di ba? To abdicate that role, to resign as a form of what? Patriotism? Tama ba? Ano sabi nila? Patriotism daw yun? What was the term? As a form of what was the term? Whatever. I cannot even imagine it because it does not make connection in my brain. Ito yung sinasabi ko eh. When something so stupid is trying to go inside a brain that is well-founded in its rationale, it doesn't make sense and it doesn't make any connection into the neurons. So ano nga daw mangyayari kapag siya ay mag-resign? President Marcos should prove his patriotism nga by resigning. What kind of patriotism is that? Di ba? Yun. Patriotism nga ang tawag nila dun. It doesn't make sense, right? Southern California. Oh, it's already 10 a.m. Southern California, near LA area. Malamangan mo sa LA, no? Or sa San Bernardino. No? Patriotic duty na mag-resign. Ipinigyan siya ng mandate. Ang trabaho niya is to fulfill that mandate. Ang napag-usapan natin yung sovereignty kahapon. Sovereignty doesn't only come or isn't only granted to those congressmen and not at the, kumbaga, we didn't lose it by giving it to them. We actually have the power to take it back. And in the theory that we discussed yesterday by no less than John Locke. John Locke yun, ano? Yeah, John Locke. It is shared by the people, by the legislature, and by the executive. And to a certain extent, or by certain transference, it is extended to the judiciary. So, if people do not understand that that is the basis of that relationship, these people will continue to make these demands. Up to now, actually yan pa rin yung sinasabi nila. No? And Eugenio Lopez Jr. at this time is now in the form of a woman named Amor. Don't you think? Questions? Mabot pa rin ako ng 2 oras. Oh my God. Kala ko short lang. Pero I hope you like that. Konti lang tayo because this was not scheduled, and in fact, nakaschedule siya for tomorrow. My bad, my bad. No? But I hope that you found this subject matter informative enough and revealing enough that the events of the day is just history repeating itself. It's just the same narrative being hurled against you and me as the common people. Para tayong ginagawang hanga, ginagawa tayong, alam mo yun, laruan. And the only party that has any contract with us, actually any responsibility for us, is that person that we place there. The person who has an obligation to serve us. The media has no obligation to serve us, obviously. They don't see it as an obligation. We know they have the obligation to give us some truthful, truthful depiction of the present. But in this case, even this writer holds their colleagues in question. So hindi naman talaga pala lahat ng media ay nagsasama-sama at napapasama sa kanilang grupo. In fact, napapansin ko, I don't know how long or how deep this connection is. In the Philippines, there is this National Press Club, and I think they are not with that group. No, I think. But we'll find out. Hopefully, you can help us find out too. How is the National Press Club related to the pressure group that evidently this kind of pressure group that Marcos was complaining about in the 70s has resurfaced now, or not just now, but during the Duterte times. And I think they're tired of their attack. They want to cash in. We should talk about history. Yeah. So we will have a history. Parang patriotic day. Patriotic ano. By the way, August is History Month. Oh, hindi naman tayo masyadong out of tune. No. Today's topic is very informative. Thank you. Maganda yung ano ng mga ganito kasi nakikita na parang mirror na mirror. Just like mirror na mirror yung history of freedom of the press ng 1735 na nag-anniversary din ng August. Dami nga August talaga na event. Meron pang 2 August na events na malalaki. Dalawa yung August 21. Isang Plaza Miranda bombing and yung Ninoy Aquino assassination. August yan. So talaga, August is a history month. So my impression is that the fourth estate has abused its influence, which is some form, not just some, don't underestimate them. Kasi the more people there are now, and the more information we need to churn in our brains, isipin mo, alam mo, napapaisip ako, how can the older generation be that intelligent? Diba? You read from Aguinaldo, why are they so intelligent? And then, this generation from the 70s, they're more intelligent than us when they write. And apparently when they analyze, they're more galing. Kasi mas marami tayong kailangan i-memorize ngayon, no? Marami tayong kailangan i-process sa utak natin. Marami tayong abala. And it just, it's amazing when we see this. Dun kayo sa, Gcash. Nabasa niyo ba yung post ko kanina about Gcash ni Walden Bello? Ako, I must admit. Yan si Walden Bello, in college, may dalawa kaming professor na main text namin sa public ad yung kanyang writings. Magaling yan si Walden Bello. He's a good thinker. I don't know what happened to it. That was a simple case of kuryente. I saw that news also and I was shocked. Di ba? Assistant, I think ano, media officer niya, ano, ni Bisaya, in a raid. What would be the first thing you will think? And then meron pang mga umiikot na, ano, maybe na-excite. And that happens to media people, even batikang mga reporter, columnist, ang tawag dyan kuryente. Na kuryente lang si Manong. It's the best thing to do. And if I do this, please be a friend and remind me. Diba? Ordinaryong tao yan. You are Walden Bello. You are a world-renowned author. Diba? He's not just a simple politician or activist. No, he is an author. Ako, I can remember 2 books in 2 subjects in public ad based on his writings. Ang ilang, ano yun, 1/4 ng isang SEM or kalahati ng SEM based on his writing. He is a good thinker. He is well known. He is a somebody. He's a good writer. He's an author. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. And yet, sino ba naman yun? Kahit na media officer yun ng Davao City. Di ba? That is just a private person. Tinerminate na nga ni Inday. And then ngayon, ipipilit mo pang connect. You just fall into this kind of description. No? Itong mismong pinag-uusapan natin right now. Mema. Mema ako sa lang talaga. Di ba? Oh my God. Walden Bello has, how old is he? 70s? Baka, mina na yung kanyang neurons. Meron na siguro siyang nutrient deficiencies. His decision making, as far as the morality of the thing lang is concerned, the first thing he should have done is apologize when he found out that, because 2 days later lumabas yung investigasyon eh. Alam na niya, hindi yung totoo yung umikot na ano, di ba? If he only kept his mouth shut, just look around, meron bang ibang nagsasabi? Wala, di ba? Binawi na niya kaagad. But no, pride. And, of course, the desire is exactly what is described here in our text today. And Maria Reza, mi amor, Santa Maria. Ano ba magandang si Santa Maria? Or next time. By the way, this thing is about to happen again. It's actually happening right now. Yung conglomeration ng ating mga experts in media. And again, involving the same channels. Uy! Nakikinig ka, no?
Ha?
Nakinig ka ba?
Kararating ko lang.
Ano, iti-take over mo na, ikaw nang bala? Patuloy.
Makikinig lang.
Yung gusto daw niya, gusto daw ni, ano 2083? Oh, yes. Thank you, Kushay. 2083. Thank you. Sino to? Si Bisaya de ka Kushay, atay ka, ay. Bisaya de ka, day. Silingan mo ni Ahmed. If we talk about history often enough, we might stumble into something big. So keep history out. Really? In fact, there is really something big that we're just hiding from you. Very, very big. Yeah. There's a lot of things we need to revise in our history. Eh, di ba? Sabi ko, Revi, Sean or revisiting? Musta, sir?
Ayos lang. Hello, 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 hello.
Oh,
Mga classmate.
mas dumami ang mga oligarchs ngayon. Yes! Mas dumami ang mga oligarchs ngayon. Idagdag pa ang mga bilyar na may TV station na. Okay. Ano bang definition talaga ng oligarchy? No? Yung kay Teddy Boy, not Tony Boy. Why do I confuse them? Because in this talk also is the yung PLDT, di ba? No, na-mention dyan. So yung PLDT, kanino daw ba yung PLDT? Parang sa mga Amerikano yan, no? Before the martial law years.
Ha?
I do not remember who owns PLDT. But after 1986, PLDT and ABC, the Channel 5, were given to Tantanting, Corey's relatives. Yep.
Oo.
And from that, you get Gretchen. You get Gretchen.
Gretchen.
Gretchen. You make Gretchen very happy. Yan lang yan. So you will remember the names Buddy Lopa, Tony Boy Cuangco, and then later on selling it to Manny Pangilinan. And now you have the Indonesians. Okay. And then Channel 2, after being sequestered, being returned, the Roses family did not get back what was taken from them. Similarly, as the taking that happened to the Lopezes. Because of, Ahmed, usapin mo lang sila. I-hi mo lang sila kasi namimiss ka nila. Hanapin ko lang yung order. Number nun, Attorney Ahmed?
Sige.
Instruction,
Sige.
no? LOI. Letter of instruction number 7 something. Yun ba yun?
Ano yun? Yung sa ABS?
Oo.
Oo, LOI yun. LOI.
Letter of instruction, no? Yeah.
Oo.
I-hi mo na sila dyan. Kusapin mo na sila.
Tatlo yun, di ba?
LOI. Ha?
Ay, dalawa. Dalawa yun, di ba?
Dalawa ang in-order kay Ingrile. Para makita lang nila, baka sabihin nila, invento naman yan si JP eh.
Oo nga. Ibento tayo dito.
Where did I find that? Again, Lofil ba? Lofil? Oh, no. Official Gazette. Tama?
Lofil.
Marcelo. Letter of instructions. So, may presidential decree, may mga letter of instructions, parang administrative orders to mga letters of instruction. Okay, so number one. In view, blah, 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 carrying out going, you're hereby directed to see the reasonable means you're employed. Okay?
Now, yung tinutukoy niya, Sherry.
The armed forces in order to prevent the use of newspapers, magazine, radio facilities. Okay.
Endorse kay Enrile
Letter
yung
of
LOI to be
instruction number
presented by him.
1. Okay. And then 1A. Okay. Para makita nyo lang yung series. So when martial law was imposed, ilagay ko lang ito, sir. So when martial law was imposed, stop muna, no? Stop and then share. Share new one. Martial law was imposed. Ito yung order. Okay? You down para makita ko kayo kung lumabas na. There. So this is the letter of instruction number 1. So imagine mo, you have a military threat. Diba? Kaya ka nga bakit ka nga ba daw mag-impose ng martial law according to the constitution when there is an external threat, there is an insurrection, a rebellion, and then you issue the order declaring martial law, and your first letter of instruction is not directed to the generals or the military, but to the press secretary. And of course to the Secretary of National Defense. And your first order of business is to, in view of the declaration of martial law, you are hereby ordered to, my capacity of commander-in-chief, and in order to prevent the use of isn't this the most telling, no? Telling, tama ba? Telling, Tony, no? Telling a reason
Telling.
or feature of that martial law to make the closure of communications, propaganda, number 1 in his orders. More dangerous than the military threat. To close all of them.
I would understand that.
That's number 1. Now let's find number 1A. Martial law. Letter of instruction. Number 1-8. Tama ba? 1-8? There's such a thing? Palitan ko or no? I just copy paste na. We'll see. There you go. Okay, now ito yung pinakamagandang parte dyan. Ito yung dininay ni Enrile sa Kongreso. Okay? Deny this. Uy, ito ayaw. Sorry. Ayaw. Wait. Again. I'll just remove that and then actually change it. Sana meron tayong mga assistant mga tech. Kapag meron talagang mga mag-commit niya muna tayo ng libel pare tapos mag-pan tracing tayo. Pwede ba 'yon, Ahmed? Gusto mo 'yon?
Fundraising.
Man-libel muna tayo tapos mag-fundraising tayo. Kagaya ni Bello.
Diba? Para si Walden Bello.
Oo. Libel and then fundraising. There you go. So this one is issued a week later. Okay, September 28, 1972. So number 1 actually had the number 1A. And what does 1A say? Yung number 1 was issued to the press secretary, but this one is only for the Secretary of the Department of National Defense. Pursuant to Presidential Order, Proclamation number 1081, in my capacity as Commander-in-Chief and consonant with the objectives of Letter of Instruction number 1, dated September 22, in connection and considering that ABS-CBN network, okay, name, and the Associated Broadcasting Corporation, yan, company na pala yun sila ngayon. So, corporation, whose owners, principal officers, and key personnel are engaged in subversive activities against the government and its duly constituted authorities and are participants in a conspiracy to overthrow the government have more than once and often actively engaged in or otherwise wittingly allowed the use of its facilities and manpower in the broadcast and dissemination of subversive materials and of deliberately slanted and over-exaggerated news stories and commentaries, as well as false, vile, foul, scurrilous, you know, scurrilous
Correct.
statements and utterances, clearly well conceived, intended and calculated to malign and discredit duly constituted authorities and thereby promote the agitational propaganda campaign, conspiratorial activities, and illegal ends of the Communist Party of the Philippines, and has been used as indispensable instrument in the assassination attempt against the President of the Republic of the Philippines by maligning him, all of which activities are patently inimical to the security and interest of the state, which is true. Now, if you do this, that will be an attack on the state because an attack on the president is an attack on the state. You are hereby ordered forthwith. What was the order? To enrolling, to sequester the ABS-CBN Broadcasting Corporation and the TV and radio network and facilities owned and operated by Associated Broadcasting Corporation, which include radio stations DZM, TDZ,
Kadudit.
ano yung pinag-aawayan nila sa Kongreso ng hearing? Kung sinequester ba ang ABS-CBN at all? Isipin mo, nagmamaang-maangan yung ating mga congressman about this. It
Hindi nila alam.
is in the records of our government. It's in, actually, the official gazette. As used herein, what does it mean? The term sequester and sequestration. Isipin mo ha, si Marcos never even gave any congressman of our generation that chance to. What did he mean by sequester? Dinipain pa ni Marcos. Shall mean the seizure of property,
Private property.
assets in the hands of any person or entity in order to prevent the utilization, transfer, conveyance of the same for the purpose inimical to national security or whether necessary to protect the interests of government or any instrumentalities shall include the taking over and assumption of the management, control, operation, and private property or assets seized. In carrying out the foregoing order, you are hereby also directed to see to it reasonable means are employed by you and your men that injury to persons and property shall be avoided. Oh, shit. Wag mo yung saktan, wag mo yung sirain. In the implementation of this letter of instruction, the Secretary of National Defense is hereby authorized to issue the necessary rules and regulations for its effective implementation. Done in the City of Manila. Signed by the President. It's in the Malacanang Records Office. Then why does Congress deny this existence?
Baka hindi talaga nila alam.
Tinanong nga nila si Enrile. At sabi ni Enrile,
Tapos hindi.
yung number one
Hindi
lang ang ginawa niya. Number one lang daw.
Number one na yung in-implement niya.
Number one lang daw. So, ibig sabihin hindi niya sinunod si Marcos?
Good
Ang
luck.
problema niya, merong Supreme Court decision later on na inaffirm yung kanyang order na yung ibang istasyon ng ABC5 dun sa may bandang Naga ay gamitin ng gobyerno or paandarin because siniquester na. At inaffirm na valid yung kanyang action because siniquester na talaga. Meaning, ABC5 could not get back their stations. That's why when it was revived, it was not revived as Associated Broadcasting Corporation. Tingnan nyo yung station ngayon ng ABC5. It's Associated Broadcasting Company.
Company.
If I'm not mistaken. Company, no? And it's a different entity. Hindi na sa mga Roses yan.
No, it's a different.
Kawawa naman si Chino Roses, no? Si Chino Roses also fought. Chino Roses also
Court martial law. And
umasa din siya sa EDSA. Umasa din siya sa EDSA. But he is no Lopez.
Yeah.
He did not get back anything. Di ba,
Yep.
equal protection of the law? Di ba fair ang mga Aquino?
Namatay na lang yata yung matanda eh.
May pangalan, may nakapangalan naman na street sa kanya sa Makati. Meron na bang Eugenio Lopez Street?
Sa Manila.
Hindi.
Yung
Ipang
Mindiola
Lopez,
yata sa kanya yung
Mel Lopez yun.
yung Mindiola, ano yun, sa Mindiola may statwa siya doon.
Sino? Si,
Si Chino Roses.
yeah, pero si Lopez, wala namang street. Pero may stasyon siya, may ABS
Oo.
siya. Wala pang pinangalan na Eugenio Lopez Street or Salvador Lopez Avenue. Baka sa Iloilo meron.
Merong Eugenio Lopez
Museum, sila nang patayo.
Sila.
So for Chino Rosas, he gets the street. But no broadcasting company. But the Lopezes, they get ABS-CBN, no avenue. Baka pag na-take over na nila yung gobyerno. Which, by the way, brings us back to the question. What is there for them to gain? If ever, nag-resign nga si Marcos. Aber. Ideas.
Sinong Marcos?
If ever
Sinong Marcos?
nag-implement,
Sino Marcos? Senior?
di ba kasi they were asking him to resign, tama? So friends, if ever he resigned, was there anything for the Lopezes to gain? Yes, Chino Roses also fought back. Kasi nga, friends nga sila eh. Okay, so how would you justify the accusation against the Lopezes? What's in it for them? Why would they want him out? A ver. Ideas. Sagot. Final question sa quiz.
Mandinig ko eh.
Ang makakasagot ay bibigyan ng ticket ng meme. May sobra pala. Wait lang. Saan ba yun?
Meron pa ba? Meron
Yeah,
pa ba? Showing pa ba?
Bakit? Wala nang meme? Yeah, meron sila sa
Ay, hindi.
Iloilo. Malamang. Oh. Sa Iloilo nga, because they came from there and then he was mayor there and congressman. They were interspersed with my grandfather. Yung Ibierna Street din dyan sa UP, banda. Yan. Sila yung nagpapalitan ng posisyon. So, how would they benefit if they were able to ease out the president? They have free hand on power to disseminate information. Really? That's all they get? Sabi niya, Osheng, they will have a free hand daw. Why would they like to be handing out information? Showing siya amin dito sa Dubai, pwede kaya yun. Ay, nasa Dubai ka pala. August 19.
Tama yung sinabi niyo, Oseng eh.
They will have a free hand? That's true, but that's not just what they get if Marcos will leave. Makaka-acquire ulit sila ng PPPP? I don't think so. Ay, pwede. Pero more than that. What will they get? If Marcos actually left or actually just succumbed to their pressure.
Sino ba yung vice president doon? Si Tolentino?
No po. Ang vice president po ay si Salvador Lopez po.
Yun yung
So,
una
if
pa. That is before before the
So if Marcos leaves, Lopez becomes
Si Lopez ang
president.
presidente.
Don't you see that was never emphasized in any of the discussions about martial law? That's why it is not even in our consciousness that they will benefit from the removal of Marcos by Salvador Lopez becoming the president. Fernando Lopez, sorry. Salvador Lopez. Sino ba si Salvador Lopez?
Salvador Lopez de Villalobos.
Fernando Lopez. Senior. Fernando Lopez. the vice president, whoever,
Banana.
becoming the president. Do you know that this person holds the distinction of being vice president 3 times? Tina
Yep.
Campos. Hi mga sir. Oh, yung mga bagong dating, actually, ang haba na nito, no? Sabi ko short. And then sabi ko,
Wala, 2 oras
bukas pa.
lang eh.
Hindi, sabi ko, nilagay ko na date pre. 11. They will become the president. First and last chance run ni Lopez Mbasya. And first and second run. And then he was also the vice president of somebody else. I think Garcia ba or Quirino? Garcia ata. I'm not sure. Basta he was vice president 3 times.
Oh,
The only one.
2 beses siya kay Marcos.
Yeah, and then kung 2 beses siya kay Marcos, i-check nyo nga yan kung ilang beses siya naging VP. 3 times VP. Ilan ang maximum stint ng VP? Wala ata. Meron bang maximum? Pwedeng umulit, di ba, sa VP? Walang term limit? Meron ba? In the Constitution. May limit ng VP?
Wala.
Wala, no? You can run again.
Wala limit
No?
yan.
Kasi si
You can run as
Noli De
many
Castro,
times as you plan. So, like,
Noli De Castro was offered to run again as VP for Manny Villar. But he did not accept it because hindi sila nagkasundo sa amount. Oh, hindi naman masama. Anong tawag dito? It's not really valid. It's practical. They're just practical. From now on, we should learn the language of positivity. Dahil bawal daw yung hate speech and negativity. Nirarank pala yung lahat ng ating mga social media posts. Every time we say a negative thing, we are being counted as being radicalized. Naging radical na daw tayo. So, we must change our terminologies and be more friendly. So, mga ganyan, sabihin mo, they were very practical people.
very utilitarian.
Utilitarian.
User-friendly.
Pwede rin resourceful.
Resourceful.
Pwede mag-forever VP. Pwede ata. Pwede. Si Tolentino, ano nangyari?
Si Tolentino yung
Tolentino ran.
nag-lift na yung martial law.
Yeah, he ran in the 1986 snap election as the vice president of Marcos.
Ferdinand Marcos.
And did you know? Did you know that in July of 1986, July 1986 or 1987, 86, Tolentino installed himself or had himself installed as vice president and acting president on behalf of Marcos. And they declared na itong gobyerno ni Cory was a fake and inupo nila yung sarili nila sa loob ng Manila Hotel. Look it up. And then they offered Juan Ponce Enrile to become the prime minister and they revived the 1973 constitution. And then he slept. The following morning, yung military support niya, wala na.
Palit na. Tumawid na sa kabila. Kasama si Enrile.
Kasi tinagap ni Enrile. Yeah, there was such this was the first hotel siege. Doon pala kumuha ng inspirasyon si Trillanes. Manila Hotel ang una. Hindi Peninsula, hindi Oakwood. user-friendly, patriotic daw ang gagawin ni Marcos kung siya ay magre-resign. 1986 snap election, Lopez says, ano sabi dito? Lopez says, would be the sole owner of the key industries, the communication, the transport, and they will write the law of the land in their favor or business interest. Total monopoly of the Philippines. Why is this in the future tense, sir? Don't you know that it is happening now?
Again.
Yeah, it's not in the future tense, it's in the present tense. So interesting about Tolentino. But yeah, we were young, but somehow I stumbled upon that information and nagulat ako. Akala ko yung nagkukudita lang nun, si Gringo lang at saka si Enrile. Meron palang kudita ng iba na wala silang kinalaman at tinanggihan ni Enrile. Ang weird. Manila Hotel, tapos yung description, kagaya nung kay Trillanes Barrio na inubos yung mga pagkain, tapos ni-raid yung lahat ng mga wine, mga yung mga sa kwarto ng mga inubos nila lahat. Nag-party daw. Overnight, 36 hours. Yun. Sino pa? Wala na. Are we, okay na yung linya mo? Pwede na tayo mag-live bukas? Buhay na tayo? Med?
I think so. Ngayon, nagpuputol-putol pa lang siguro bukas sa
But
siguro I
you're okay.
expect this
You're
to be
much better now. Mas maganda na yung signal mo ngayon.
Oh, pero yung
Ganun.
audio na puputol-putol, nawawala-wala.
Ayun. So, this one is for adults only, no? Hindi for kids, no? Itong material natin ngayon, hindi siya pwede for kids. Kasi it will destroy their understanding of Philippine history.
Of the things that they read as called history.
No, hindi siya pwede. What do you think? What do you think sa mga nakinig from the start? Would this material be educational or it will destroy the future generation of Filipinos knowing these things? Kasi baka mapagalitan tayo nito ng mga historian. We're reading history.
Oo. Lalo ni Ambeto Campo.
Tolentino attempted to hold court when the Marcoses were taken by the Americans, pero hindi siya nagtagumpay sa Manila. Yeah. Marami. Actually, in the first day, marami sumali. And then he slept. And then when he woke up, when he looked out, wala na yung mga military niya.
Yung kanyang function room, wala nang tao.
Wala na.
Pati yung mga baril sinala.
yun yung pinaka-comedy siya, lahat ng comedy. And that is Arturo Tolentino. But it does not destroy his brilliance in law. Until now, his book in civil law is still good. It is still being used as basis for many decisions. And in the same manner, ito rin si Walden Bello, ganun din siguro mangyayari sa kanya. It will not destroy his ideas when he was younger. Di ba? Ano kuto? Kuto na doon sumama. Hindi pa siya iniwanan ng kuto nung nakaramdam yung kuto ng bedsheet ng Manila Hotel. Sabi niya, kuto, mas maganda dito na ako. There is a lot of value in this conversation about history, historical events that are relevant to us. So I don't know if you would recommend this to your kids. It's quite long. They will not allow. Maybe. Shorten natin to, no? Pero maganda yung thrilling. Para tayong nanood ng palabas. Meme. Ano ba mas maganda? Yung 2 oras yung pinanood yun ng meme o itong kwento na to? Asan ba yung ticket natin?
Kung hindi ka pa matatapos,
Hindi, sino bibigyan natin ng
kunin mo
ticket?
na yung
No.
Yung order
I
mo
want you
na,
to decide.
dumating na yung order
Two
ko eh.
tickets.
Yung Grab,
Two
yung
tickets.
Grab order
Ah,
ko dumating na, kailangan kong punta.
Grab. May buti pa may Grab. I have two tickets. Who wants
Gutom
it?
na ako.
Ay, alam ko marami dito nasa abroad kaya you wouldn't want it. I find this material so interesting since I was only grade 1 during the Marcelo Declaration. Ngayon ko lang nakita sa inyo ang documents and information on Lopez's and the term. Alam mo, there are more documents, more incriminating than this, no? Pero this one, I'm just using a media, pero reliable naman. No? Teddy Boy is Teddy Boy. He became the speechwriter of Korea. Don't forget that. And our foreign secretary during Digong. So, at the beginning, he was actually pro martial law. Ay, konti lang daw pala. Churi. Bakit? Ano ba yung konti lang? Yung ano? Yung puto? Yung ano? Tickets. I have two tickets kasi six lang pala yung na-raffle natin the last time. And then, binigay kay Atty. Nick yung ano. So, there are two. Yun. If somebody wants to say mine, and I'll give it. Yung may makikinabang, dalawang ticket for me. There are atrocities done as well by Cory. And there's an interview by... because marami yun eh. Maraming kudeta yun. Ilan ba yung kay Cory? 7? Something like that. And I think that Tolentino thing was the first. Kuto ang konti. Kasi wagad na yung book nun. Ganun na. Parang hair is vanishing. HIV. Konti lang. Hindi kuto. Konti lang yung buhok. Oh no. Anyway, I think we're just having dito, a laugh and mabuti siguro kasi kapag yung sinasabi ay hindi yung trying hard ka na nagbibenta ng kalokohan kagaya yung paano ba sinasabi ni Maria Reza freedom of reach. Pag ganyan eh. It's not freedom of speech, but freedom of reach. Galing. Gusto ko yung moves na yan. Second week na ng alin? Nangin? Talaga, umabot na ng 2 linggo yun? Napanood yun na lahat, no? Ayaw nyo na ng ticket. Sige nga, ko na lang to, lagay ko na lang to sa quadra. Konti lang sumama kay Tolentino sa Manila Hotel kaya hindi sila nagtagumpay. Yes, there's always a need for numbers. And Chodoro. Sino to writer na Chodoro? Also from Free Press. He wrote by December of that year that the end of the honeymoon period between Cory and the businessmen and how the businessmen would for her, campaigned for her, and after 6 months got despised her. Alam mo, ito would have been the picture if Lenny won. Sige, yun yung isa sa mga material natin, yung mga wala kami magawa. Good morning, Sir Ed. Mine. Yun. May nag-mine. Sino tong mine? How do I give it to you? You are in a cruise and some plans. Where are you? PM me sa isang dangkal ng iyong address. Papalalamove ko sa iyo kung nasa loob ka lang ng Metro Manila. 2 ticket din. I know it's just here. Somewhere. Yeah. Oo nga. Nasaan? Dito lang yun. It's just here. So, PM me sa Wandangkal. Yes, yun. 2. Hello. Where are you from? Victorio Alonso. Ay, ikaw din? Saan ka? Saan ka? Bigyan kita. Meron pa ko isa. Kung hindi mo pa napanood. Okay, last na yun. Yun yung dapat ilalagay ko sa kwadra. Pero sa'yo na lang. Ikaw na lang maglagay sa kwadra kung gusto mo. PM me your address. Ano yung kwadra? Di ba yun yung ano, frame, kwadra?
Yung photo frame.
Yup, kwadra.
Kwadra sa atin yun, sa kanila, ano,
It's very informative.
kanila,
O James, taga saan ka ba, James? Yung mga Balmaceda kasi. Mga taga Bicol to eh. No? Maraming Balmaceda sa Bicol. Are you from there by any chance? Speaking up against the narrative is like raising a concern you will be branded as a racist. Hindi lang racist, but crazy. Racist.
racist.
Meron yan actually dito sa material natin if you were there when we read yung, I think it was Tony naman, Teddy, who wrote that, na
Hindi po iloksin.
writing anything or saying anything in favor of Marcos is ruining your own reputation. Yun yung epekto daw ng narrative sa media. Sabi niya, ha? Kaya ano yun, may 1 and 2 pa yun, naka-Roman numerals yun, ha? Yun. I will show you. Ito yung sabi ni Terry.
Kain tayo?
Ano yung kinakain mo, pre? Yung mga masarap yan, ha?
Wendy's.
May Wendy's pa na bukas ng ganitong oras.
Hanggang buong gabi, buong araw, buong gabi.
There you go, oh. Mr. Balmaceda. Nagalin natin yung ano mo, comment. There. 2 things have resulted from their efforts. Yes, can you want to go back to your ano? Anyone who says a good word for the president damages his reputation irreparably. Dilawan na dilawan, no? Yung epekto.
Sino sumulat niyan, si Teddy Boy?
Teddy Boy, in 1971.
Ay, dilaw na dilaw yan eh.
Kaya nga, but this is him. Oh, look. Unless this is a fake, ha? Hindi ko. Tutoro siya, di ba? O tatay niya to?
Siya yan.
Ha?
Siya yan. Siya
Di
yan.
ba kasi senior yung tatay niya, di ba? Who is also a good writer.
Oo.
By the way, ha? Sabi, debauchment with currency, political terrorism, scale. Ito yung mga arguments against Marcos, no? Na ipasok sa utak ng publiko. Loss of confidence in the institutions of the republic or the common people have been blamed on President Marcos by conspirators. 2 things have resulted from these efforts. 1, the universal opinion that Marcos is the worst president we ever had. And 2, anyone who says a good word for the president damages his reputation irreparably. Now, you don't only damage your reputation, you get branded as radicalized.
Populist.
Radicalized. Good night for me. That's it.
Thank you.
And everyone, hope to see you sa totoong 11 August. Bye. Oh, I miss eating
Thank you.
Wendy's.
Kain tayo.
So, sino yung PM me, yung may gusto ng ticket? Sino ba yung kanina? Si Cruises and then si Paparazzi. In your address, have it sent tomorrow. Basta loob lang naman ito Manila. COD ko lang. Bahala na kayo sa bayad kay Kuya. Asa na yung ating, dito na naman tayo sa, malungkot kasi gabi na. Muna tayo mag-rock.
Rock pa rock.
sa akin. Ako'y nasindak ng alurin sa baybayin ng kahirapan at kalungkutan. Ang tindi ng sinabi ng aking kapalaran, wala na akong pag-asa, yurap na aking dangal, wala nang lugar pa akong masisilungan. O alon ng kapalaran, sana'y tumigil na. Ang tindi ng sinabi ng aking kapalaran, wala na akong pag-asa, yurap na aking dangal, wala nang lugar pa akong masisilungan. O alon ng kapalaran,